Most people underestimate the power of process. They stick it in the back seat and forget about it until it's too late. But they shouldn't. Processes run the world, literally all of it. Stocked supermarkets, on-time trains, and safely landing planes are all made possible by systems of intricate, interlinked processes. They are the secret sauce of every great company, and HR teams are responsible for some of the most important processes of all. Onboarding employees, building teams, crafting culture. These vital systems are the lifeblood of every organization. That's why this episode is brought to you by Process Street, the process platform of choice for HR teams around the world. Process Street is a no-code platform that lets you transform your most important HR processes into powerful workflows. Design beautiful employee onboarding experiences with extreme engagement that increase inclusion and reduce turnover. Sync tasks into Slack or Microsoft Teams, automate emails, handoffs, and so much more. Thousands of teams, large and small, trust Process Street to manage their most important people processes. Like Salesforce, that used Process Street to onboard all the 3,000 Slack employees after the $27 billion acquisition. You can learn more and sign up for a free account at www.process.st. Welcome to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast. The podcast all about the delicate balance between people and business, and quite literally, reconnecting the two. My name is Tracy Rubin, and I've spent nearly my entire professional career in HR. Join me as I share stories, opinions, and words of advice with you each week. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here for the 100th episode. Holy smokes, I just cannot believe that we are officially in triple digits. It's so insane. I have to take a moment to reflect on this. 100 episodes. The first thing that I want to say is thank you so much. I would not be at 100 episodes if it weren't for the comments and the reviews and the DMs and the emails and the messages anywhere, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever it's been, that tell me to keep going. And I'm so grateful to be here today in front of you and in your ears. To say thank you for this 100th episode. It's just so insane. I never thought when I started this podcast back in October of 2020 that I would be here today. I don't know what I thought at all. If I was thinking at all. I think if I was thinking, I probably would not have started a podcast. And that just goes to show you that some things you just have to do and not think too much about. I can't tell you, every time I get a message or an email or a comment or a review, wherever it is, validates all of the things that I've been working on doing with this podcast, trying to do, actively doing. It just reminds me that the effort that you put into things is the value that you get out. So I'm just so appreciative. I'm so grateful. Thank you for being here. And if you're new to this podcast, thank you for joining. And if you've been here since day one, episode 1, wow, thank you. I know that technically 104 episodes is an official 2 years, but 100 episodes, that's something to celebrate. Who celebrates on 104? You celebrate on 100. So I'm sure that on the 104th episode, which has not been recorded yet, that I will celebrate that one too. So it's just wild. It's wild. The only way I know how to celebrate a 100th episode is to bring in a couple of my favorite people to do a podcast with me. And those two people are Erin Diehl, who has been on this podcast before. She is the host of the Improve It podcast. And if you remember from our episode, and I will link it in the show notes in case you haven't listened to it yet, she basically brings improv and laughter to team building to encourage a better connected or more connected experience for people. And Erin is she is my soul sister. So I'm really excited to have her on. But also, we have one of our favorite people joining us as well. And when I say our, it's because Erin and I literally have a fan club for this person. And her name is Jan Janerson. And if you're like, who the F is Jan Janerson? You might know her as Not Sherm Approved on Instagram and everywhere else. So Not Shroom Approved is a viral Instagram account, and the person behind Not Shroom Approved, Jan Janerson, is someone that no one knows. That is her alias. Jan Janerson is not her real name. She will not be herself on video. She will have an avatar. So just get ready. We are going to have an incredible time. There are lots of laughs shared on this episode. We are going to talk about anything and everything. With that, thank you again. Make sure that you rate, review, subscribe wherever you're listening to this or watching this. Leave a comment, 5-star review. I would love it. This is like a major milestone, and I truly would not be here if it weren't for all of you. So thank you so much again. Make sure you check out the show notes so you can get links to everything. And without further ado, let's get right into the episode. 2 things for everyone listening. This is an explicit episode. If you want to, hear curse words and hear it all, and you've got little chickens running around, and when I say chickens, I mean like kids, or you have someone with sensitive ears, maybe put in some headphones or listen at a later time. But we want you to listen. And, Jan is one with the profanity, and actually Jan and Erin's episode on Erin's podcast made me realize that it is totally okay to curse with free will. And so this episode is explicit.
Yes.
Fuck
Hell
yeah.
yes.
Right? We all gave it a few seconds. We're like, let's let them put in their headphones.
Just let them digest, pop in the AirPods, and okay,
right.
Now I can listen because these ladies are about to get raunchy.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, if they didn't have enough time to put in the headphones, your kids have already heard the curse words come out of your mouth. Don't lie to yourself.
Real.
Come on. We all have had our bad
Real,
days.
For real.
Yeah, for real. Yesterday, my 3-year-old goes, "Dang it." And I said, "Where did you hear that?" And then I said, "I know." But at least it wasn't the other version. But I will say, it is hard to not swear in real life. Why do we? And Tracy, you and I talked about this. Why don't we show up with a little bit of swearing on our podcast? That's what we do.
Because it's what we do, right? And you know what? I've realized that I can have a little sprinkle of explicit podcasts, It doesn't have to all be explicit. It could be like a little, just a little topping, a little, what do they call that salt? Finishing salt. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the finishing salt.
Yeah. Add a little pizzazz. Put a little truffle in that salt,
Right. Use some truffle.
Well, I love a truffle salt.
Right.
Love a
oh my
truffle
God.
salt.
I know.
Little caramel drizzle on the,
La, la, la.
you know.
Oh, Jan, you
Yes.
just know what we need.
She
You
does.
just gets us. And actually, I realized I totally failed to intro you guys. But again, it's because we're, this is a little gal pal hangout. And
There's
I
no
should.
rules here.
There are no rules.
There's no structure. There's no rules. This is just going to go off the rails, and it's going to be fantastic.
It couldn't have said it better myself. And if I had a producer, an audio engineer, I would say flush the format, and I'd hear a little flush. But we don't have that here. So, just imagine it in your mind.
There you go.
Right.
Excellent.
Right. Exactly.
Toilet flush.
I had to tell you, I came into this episode saying I don't want to have any pre-planned topics because I think the beauty of our relationship as a trio is that we can literally talk for hours and hours about anything and everything. And so with that, there is one thing that I do want to get your guys' opinions on, and that is quiet quitting. Because it's out that I know. You know what? Just
quiet quitting.
Quiet quitting. Go ahead, Jan.
I am so tired of this bullshit marketing term to refer to nothing more than the patriarchy's abject fucking fear that people are only going to do as much work as they're paid for. Oh my God, you're not going to be bullied into doing above and beyond anymore? I'm tired. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Quiet quitting. Okay. Do you want us to go back to loud quitting?
I quit.
It's a slow news week, so they had to create something new on LinkedIn.
I don't think it is a slow news week.
You're right.
And,
You're right.
Not in these here times.
Not in this world.
When former presidents are literally flushing paper, clogging White House toilets, it is not a slow news week.
Well, you're right. You're right. There's a lot of flushing in this episode. There's a lot of flushing. A lot of flushing. Shh. Shh. Jan, what is also amazing, which the listeners cannot see, is that I felt like your emotion come through because your emoji just lights up when you talk.
Actually, they will be able to see this.
Oh, they will be able to see
Yeah.
this. Okay.
On Spotify or YouTube.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good. To be honest with you, I read into it and I'm like, okay, it's just what we've all done it, right? Like we've all done it. It's just not feeling like you're seen, heard, valued, not feeling like when you show up at work, people care about what you say, what you do. And so you're like, this place sucks. Let me find another job and do the bare minimum. I've done it. We've all,
Totally.
I've witnessed it happen to friends. I've had people do it. And it's like, you got to create a culture where people don't want to feel that way in order for them to stay. And I agree, Jan, it's a marketing term. Like it is.
Oh,
it is.
They're trying to sell us on something.
Yes.
What are they selling us?
I'll tell you what they're selling us on. They're continuing to sell us on hustle culture. This is the reflective action of executives that do not know how to talk to the rest of the employees in their water column. They do not know how to do any level of development, or they're not in any way, shape, or form okay with change, or at least any change that requires them to give up any comfort, security, or privilege. And for the most part, what I don't understand is why the idea of we're going to call it quiet quitting. I freaking hate that term. But why more HR people and why more leaders are not embracing this idea of, oh, that person is quiet quitting. Great. I'm still at the beginning of when I can conserve them. I can retain them now because they haven't given notice. They haven't totally gotten fed up. They haven't walked out the door, right? So quiet quitting needs to be remarketed to actual leaders and people who want to bring their employee population closer and keep them retained and keep them happy by recognizing it as the first red flag, the first really blatant red flag. Oh, they're coming in at 9. They are leaving at 5:01. They used to come in at 8 and leave at 6. I'm not a clock watcher, but that is a clear indication that they are starting to, if not, they are disengaging. Let me lean into this employee and say, hey, I just want to make sure that you are still happy here. I want to make sure that your time here is valuable and fruitful and all of those things that we want to make this work environment into. So talk to me. Everything good? Everything not good? It is an absolute effing opportunity. But all these, financial magazine, Forbes and, Bloomberg, and you see all of these, and I am using air quotes. I am going right up against the camera with air quotes.
We feel it.
We do.
They are pivoting quiet quitting as if it is this plague, like, oh, if your employees quiet quit, you need to crack down on them harder. Yeah, Bob, because that works.
That worked the first time.
Yeah,
right.
That worked the first time. That's what caused this. So your solution is to clamp down. All right. Have fun looking for their replacement.
Right. Honestly, I agree with every single thing that you both have said. And I will add that this episode is coming out after an episode that will be specific to quiet quitting and come out before this one. So for some people who listen to this in real time, they'll have already heard like all of my thoughts on this in a different episode. So I realize we're time travelers here, but, podcast and problems, right? Space and time, right?
Construct.
Right. Time is a construct. It's true. We all have the same amount of time in the day as Beyonce, except she has like millions of dollars of talent to help her get through the day. So that's okay.
God bless her. Yeah.
I know. God bless a million times over.
She just kind of floats around and like just magically waves her hands and things are just incredible.
She's the best.
I'm convinced.
rides on a horse, like rides on a horse into a cloud, and we're like, yes, queen.
Oh my God, I love her so much. Her birthday's actually coming up in a few days. Happy birthday, Beyonce, if you're listening. Yeah,
that's right.
On a side note, though, with the quiet quitting, one of the ways that I initially saw this and still see this is that I do think it's the anecdote, or the antithesis, I should say, to hustle culture. And as someone who is still trying to be a survivor of hustle culture, because I very much am still like in this mentality of like, if I don't work 1 million hours a day in everything, not even just in my regular job, but like the podcast, everything, whatever I do, then I'm going to fail. And we are all products of hustle culture, or we are, warriors against it. But this idea around quiet quitting, I don't think is intrinsically bad. I don't know that see it. No. And I don't see it as like a marker of disengagement all the time either, especially if someone has not necessarily always gone above and beyond. Like for someone like me who always goes above and beyond, if all of a sudden I stopped, yes, total red flag. But I think like, and the way that I've kind of talked about this in some of these HR Slack channels and even on my own Instagram is that there is nothing wrong with it. And we have to stop making it out like people have to go above and beyond to be successful. You can do exactly what your job description calls for and still be successful. And I'm tired of this bullshit that people have to, now I'm getting fired up, that people have to, God, unleash me, that people have to, that people have to like go do what 3 people can do as one human being. Like this is where burnout comes from.
Yes,
so we should appreciate that people are doing exactly what they're being asked to do. And if you want someone to go above and beyond, and that's part of the job, put it in the damn job description so someone can say, oh, well, okay, that's going to be what I need to do. I'm going to have to do all these other things. And there's going to be someone who's an overachiever, probably like the 3 of us, who maybe are open to doing that. But at some level, even if you're an overachiever, you're going to burn out. It always happens that way.
Yeah.
There has to be a balance. There has to be a balance within an individual. There has to be a balance within an entire employee population. We are not all robots. We are not all the same. So you're right. We're going to have those that are overachieving, Virgo moon, like completely obsessed with everything in its place and everything has a place for it. And then you've got the people that are going to do what they need to do. They're going to do it well, and then they're going to go home. And then you've got the people that are going to need some help and some coaching and some extra motivation. And all 3 of those populations are going to be mutable. They're going to move around. They're going to switch from one thing to the next. And if anything, the last 3 years of what the world has been going through has needed to teach us, it's that we should be striving for balance, not to overachieve, not to burn ourselves out.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Yes. Clap her in. Yes, JJ.
I like that.
I like it. And this actually reminds me when I was before Improve It years ago, I was in a job where the burnout was real. I'm talking about 60 some set. Like the expectation was you get to work at 9. If you leave before 6 or 7, like what are you doing? And then I was 27. I looked at the trajectory of my life and I looked at the people who were 10 years older than me. And I was like, this is not what I see in my future. And I remember, this is so funny, Jan, that you mentioned red flags. I gave them red flags along the way. I was like, I am so burned out right now. I'm going to do something with my time after work that you can't get a hold of me. So you know what I did? I freaking ran a marathon. Okay. I said, I'm going to train, because back then there wasn't like you couldn't, you had to bring like your phone didn't have music on it, is what I'm trying to say. We had the little pod things.
Oh,
so nobody could call me.
Good times.
And I would just take that time. And I was like, this is the time, because I didn't have a family. I didn't have anything else to be like, you can't contact me at 9 p.m. at night. So I just remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to do the bare minimum. I'm not going to sign up to do more. I'm not going to do any, I'm going to come in at 9. I'm going to leave at 5. And then those red flags continue to happen over time. And I remember my manager sat me down at my review and she was like, we're feeling a little pushback on you. You're not giving as much as you were. And I said, you know why? Because I'm training somebody who's a senior level above me to do my job. Somebody got hired into this company. And I said, and I'm tired. And I told her. And then I quit about a month and a half.
Yes,
later.
you did.
And I did. And I said, but, and it was, I love
Loud quit.
people.
That's
loud
right.
quit.
Loud
quit.
quitting.
Loud quit. But it was quiet quitting up until the very end there. And it was like, I just kept letting go a little bit, letting go. But then it was the loud quit. But there were signs along the way.
Of
And
course.
so like knowing that, as a person who leads a company, like you have to be cognizant of burnout. You have to be cognizant of mentally, like everybody's not going to be at a top-notch speed every day. We're human beings, like you said, Jan, not robots. So creating a culture that allows space for that was top of mind for me when we built our company, because I just could not ever do that to myself again. And then I also, the people who are in it, they are firm boundary setters. Like these are our times that we work. If we need to send an email after hours, maybe we will, but we're not expected to. And that should not be the norm. And it has changed everything in my life, because I feel like that for me caused stress, anxiety, like physical pain. And you don't want anybody to live like that. As a leader, you shouldn't want your team to live like that. So those red flags along the way should be something to really take action on. Take heed.
Observe, ask questions, and then take action. Or if you are not, as a leader, in a place where you can make an ultimate decision in order to change the aspects of the position that are driving someone to slow down, or are driving someone to make a different decision, or, look somewhere else. If you are not in the position to change that, you are in the position to be transparent about that. You can do what you can, and then you have to be able to admit, hey, I can't do this. And then you have to let go of the fact that the person is going to make a decision that is best for them and their family. And there's nothing the fuck wrong with that.
Nothing the
Nothing.
fuck wrong.
That's
Nothing
right.
the fuck wrong.
Right. Nothing wrong. It's like, if this wasn't explicit, imagine how much we would be like filtering ourselves.
I know.
As soon as I started talking, you would need a sound engineer for me to come back. It would be like, and then beep, and then she said beep, beep.
It's like, we can't get through the episode with Jan Janerson and her profanity.
We need beeps and flushes. We need, we need a sound engineer just for this one, Tracy.
I wish I could make that the title, like beeps and flushes, but people would be like, what the hell is this? Like, what is that? What is wrong with this girl?
Happy 100,
Right. This is a milestone. I feel like so blessed that I have you two to ring in this 100th episode with me. Like, I didn't know what I was going to talk about. Like, there is no good topic for 100 episodes. I was like, screw it, no topic. How about that?
I think that's a perfect choice.
I do
Thank
too.
you.
I do have a question for you, Tracy. I've been thinking about this.
Okay.
What if you, out of your 100 episodes, could sum up just what this podcast does for you internally? Like, for you as Tracy, what have you learned through the 100 episodes?
I have learned that I can only do this alone for so long. And, that at some point, if, we want this engine to, keep going and to grow, that we're going to need to add some support, which is, I think it's a great thing, because that means that the podcast has grown and is growing. So I'm really glad about that. I've also learned that imposter syndrome is totally like a ruse. It's all in your head. Right? Like, it's such bullshit. Like, I did not start a podcast until October 2020 because I was afraid of putting my voice out there for the masses. And while obviously I don't have like millions of listeners, there are still like many, many people who listen week after week. And there are moments where I'm like, why are you listening to me? But then I realized, like, I care a lot. And I do research and I try to, I keep saying I try, but actually I'm not I work to destigmatize HR, and I actually feel like I've done that. So that is something I've learned, is that, if I doubt myself, everyone else will too. So screw this. Fuck that. Yeah.
Fuck that. Fuck that. Oh my God. This is fun.
Yeah.
Oh, Tracy. And I got to say, you have a strong audience. They love you. When I was on your show, people were like, oh my God, I loved you on Tracy's podcast.
Aww.
And the thing is that they are so excited to listen to you and the people that and your opinion. And I love that too. Like, fuck imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And keep getting loud, keep getting loud. And we need, I think, for you and for Jan, I'm not in HR, so I'm the anomaly here, but my clients are HR, and that is, a very big space for me. And the world needs both of you. The HR world needs both of your voices really loud and clear. And the comedic relief, I'm here for that. Jan and you, Tracy.
Jan is like expert level.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever want to be a writer for Improve It, Jan, you're hired. Okay.
Love it.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
I'll write a recommendation for Jan Janerson to be a writer on Improve
Yes.
It.
I will tell you, thank you. It is a very, very special chemical concoction of sarcasm and trauma. It's definitely
sounds about right.
Yeah, it's definitely helped in some aspects and hurt in others. But hey, everyone can relate to it, and that's all that matters.
It's true. And then you add some music over your content, like the where it's like we're just like running around, like chasing our tail. Just like sometimes I like go to your Instagram and I look at something, I'm dead. I'm like, it's just amazing. And I'm sure that there are other HR people out there who are like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And then they go to your Instagram and they're like, this is hilarious. I know what I'm doing with my life. Everyone else is doing the same thing. So I know it's Jan Janerson, man. We actually, I kind of talked about this on the intro, that there are three of us here because Erin and I basically were like the Jan fan club, and we started the Instagram like DM chat group, and so here we are, the Gal Pals, the Jan fan club.
I love it.
Never been better.
Yeah, and that is the title of our group chat.
It's true. It is. The Jan fan club. Yeah.
The Jan.
I don't think
Jan
that
fans.
you'll ever be anything other to me but Jan /
No.
JJ. I know you will.
That's quite all right.
I love that though. And honestly, I don't even remember. Oh yeah. Okay. Cassandra Rose, when we got introduced, and I said, she goes, her name is Jan Janerson. It's the best. It's literally the best play on. It's the best name. And I think if somebody out there should really call themselves Jan Janerson, but it bleeds into who you are and the truth in your comedy, which I think is awesome. That's really great comedy, is the truth out there. And it's so freaking funny.
It's true.
And Tracy, you too. I mean, you bring humor to all of your shows. You bring laughter, you bring light, and you also share the truth. Like you said, the destigmatization of HR. Yeah.
And actually on this point, when I think about like where HR, and Erin, I think you can probably even think about this even more like specifically because you work with HR people, so you've seen the growth and the transitions. But when I think about where I started in HR and what that was like basically 10 years ago to where HR is as an industry today, like it has been a movement. There have been many changes, and we saw through COVID that HR was like necessitated in a way that we had been like fighting for years. Hey everyone, I wanted to take a quick break to tell you about the Employee Onboarding Podcast by Process Street. If you care about crafting a magical experience for new employees and you love podcasts, you won't want to miss this. Join the Process Street team as they have conversations with people leaders and technology creators exploring the world's most magical onboarding experiences. You will learn cutting-edge best practices, industry secrets, and technology to wow every new employee that walks through your door. I recommend the episode where Process Street's CEO, Vinay Patenkar, sat down with Zapier's CEO, Wade Foster, to talk about how they've scaled employee onboarding in a $5 billion remote-first organization. And the conversation with Ben Eubanks discussing how to leverage AI and automation to improve the new employee experience will blow your mind. You can find the Employee Onboarding Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Go ahead and check it out, and don't forget, if you're interested in supercharging your employee onboarding or other HR processes, go ahead and give Process Street a try. You can sign up for a free account at www.process.st or check out their YouTube channel for a bunch of webinars and demos. It's like, listen to us, like we are going to help the business, like we're not the antithesis to business leaders, like we are business leaders. And now here we are, and I think like people are like, oh, HR is like kind of legit. So I guess like for the both of you, like what has been the most interesting or like compelling change within this industry that you've seen, Jan, from your own personal experience being in HR, and Erin, for you, like working with HR people?
So for me, I think the single biggest change that has trickled down into many of the different problems that quite a few workplace cultures had was forcing companies who would never have considered it otherwise remote and hybrid work. And it opened the door for micromanagers and other control-based, management styles to go, well, they've been working from home for 6 months and our profits are at record levels. Maybe I don't need to watch them all the time. And it opened the door for HR people who had been striving to get away from that micromanagement culture to go, how exactly do you want me to justify bringing people back to the office 5 days a week when for the last 18 months they have been doing the same job from home? Like,
right.
Just you give me how you want me to justify that, and I'll let you know if I'm going to do it. And most leaders couldn't give anything other than, oh, well, I said so. All right.
That's Bob, very compelling, Bob.
That is
very compelling. As a matter of fact, I'm going to come back 6 days a week. Yeah.
Oh my God.
With that argument.
Now I want to work 17 hours a day. Are you kidding? Because you said so. Woo-hoo.
Like, Bob, I forgot. You're so wise. You're so wise.
Why didn't I think of that? Damn, Bob.
And for all the Bobs listening, we apologize.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Bob.
The Bobs and the Karens, right?
Oh my God, yeah, but
I
Jan,
don't apologize.
Yeah,
Tracy will apologize, Erin, because they are so much nicer than I am, but I ain't apologizing. And
yeah,
Bob,
it,
you know
Bob.
who you are.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you, the one listening.
For
right
legal
now,
reasons, we're joking.
We're joking. I'm just
kidding.
That's
amazing.
Keep going,
yeah.
Jan. Go with Bob.
Keep going. Keep going.
Rip Bob apart.
Tell Bob. Tell Bob what you really think.
Yeah, but that was the singular change, was the idea that it almost forced cultures that wouldn't do this. And I had been working in startup and tech, and right before I moved into the vertical I'm in now, and right before the pandemic. So to me, it was an absolute no-brainer. And when my whole executive team was kind of panicked over the fact that we had like 4 days to move hundreds of employees to working remotely, I was like, oh yeah, well, okay, so here's an SaaS we can use, we can implement Teams, we could do this, we could do that. And they're just kind of looking at me like, you think this will work? Yeah, I've been doing it for 7 years, but don't worry about it. And it was just a no-brainer, and it spiraled. It started that win, and I've seen, and you can look at it time and time again. You can see in every vertical across the United States. I'm just going to speak for the United States, but you can see it in every single vertical. The companies that embraced hybrid, even if it was a structured hybrid, like everybody needs to be in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, every single company that embraced either hybrid or at least partially remote for certain populations retained many of their employees. And the ones that didn't lost it to the great reshuffle, or whatever we're calling it this week. So that was, for me, that was the biggest and most compelling singular reason.
Yeah, I feel that. Erin, what do you think?
I know. This is interesting because I'm just thinking about a lot of the HR people in my life. Even my husband is in learning and development. And so it's interesting because I think HR has always been the heartbeat of an organization, and it got the recognition in the past 3 years that it deserved because, I look at it as sometimes like HR seems scary. It's like, you go to the party, there's HR, right? And instead it was actually these people have cared about me all along. And now when I need them the most, they are my lifeline. They are helpful. They're telling me how to navigate. Do I come to work today because my kids got COVID or do I not? There's like, and you're calculating the number of cases, and you became almost like this, almost like the doctor or the nurse you talked about.
Like an essential, yeah,
like an essential worker within the organization. And I know all of you were so tired. I witnessed that. And I think my husband worked the hardest in the past 3 years, and we're fully remote too, that he's had to work his entire career because he was the go-to person, the inside therapist, the go-to person. And so I really think that HR got the recognition and finally the sort of that it has had all along. But I think leaders specifically noticed how crucial having the right people in HR is, because sometimes it's one of the first things to go in a recession, all of that stuff. But truly, I saw leaders really being like, I need a key player in my HR department. And then I saw HR leaders really stepping up, being helpful. And you're in this profession because you care about humans. Like, this is why you do it. And it was really, from my seat, really cool to witness the recognition being there that I think should have been there all along.
I totally agree. When you're talking about the way that HR people became like essential workers, I had like a flashback of like, oh my God, because it was a crazy, crazy time. I mean, not only are you flying by the seat of your pants because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but also the business does not function without someone managing all of that. And that someone, in my case, was me and a colleague of mine. But in many cases, I mean, to your point, if the right person was not in the right place at the right time, I mean, things were failing. And it was probably the hardest part of my career was like managing all that. And people seem to forget we are also human beings. And, what the business doesn't stop, and the person managing all of that COVID stuff was a human being most of the time. I don't think there was I don't know anyone that used a software that managed that. It was always a human being. And it was scary in the beginning. So I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, are our employees like going to be here tomorrow? Like, it was crazy. So I totally agree. First of all, I agree with both of the things that both of you said. And I really relate to this idea of like recognition and how we like finally got like the recognition that we deserved. But now I think that we're kind of going through another wave of like really showing and proving our value. And so I think that there were some businesses that were like, oh, we don't have the right person in this role. Like, I'm thinking of people who I know are really just like not people I would ever want to be associated with, like HR leaders I would never want to emulate, right? And I'm like, how did they survive that culling? Like, that's what I think of, like, you're culling like an overpopulation of deer, like, it was a culling of HR. I realize it sounds very dark, but like,
no, I mean, I think it's spot on. I actually have a theory about that in relation to what both of you said about getting that recognition. I think another thing that happened quietly and not maybe in everybody's, maybe in the subconscious and not the conscious, is that I think for the first time, most, if not all HR departments got the opportunity to show strategic HR.
Yes.
As opposed to transactional, administrative, functional. We were actually put in that seat to say, okay, we now need to figure out how we completely change how we do our business in relation to keeping our employees safe. Holy crap, we don't have a strategy. Do
Right.
you? And those HR people that were able to embrace that and show that strategic nature, I think stuck around. So
Yep.
I think for the HR leaders listening, for the HR managers and upcoming HR managers listening, hold on to ways that you can continue to show value strategically. I think that's how those slippery little suckers got through the whole culling, because they continued to focus on how they could show strategic value. The transactional stuff, the administrative stuff, the functional stuff, things like candidate selection and performance management and payroll and employee customer service and benefit management, all of those are super, super important. But none of those things seem important to the executives and to the board of directors.
Totally.
What does is strategic HR. And so I think if that's what people are focusing on in terms of this second wave, as you're saying, Tracy, I think that they can come through not only again, but even higher than they were before.
Which would be a wonderful thing. Like if people can grow through all of this, like that is the ideal, because then they're easier. People are easier to work with. Like, you know, you don't have to like lose all of this knowledge and then implant that knowledge in someone new. Like that is always, I think, the best way to go. And, you know, on this point too, with just like this second wave, I think that we're seeing businesses are like, you know, it went from businesses being in the driver's seat. I always talk about this, to then the employee being in the driver's seat. And I really feel like I'm going to demonstrate the business is trying to take back that steering wheel. They just keep pulling on the steering wheel.
Of course they are. Yeah.
Right. But employees are like, no, screw you. Like, I'm maintaining control. And this is like coming back to quiet quitting. It makes me think that this is, you know, it's all a scam, because, you know, the man or whoever is like trying to tell us, Bob is trying to tell us that, you know, we have to go above and beyond, and we have to hustle, and we have to do all these things. But this is where HR can really step in. And this is definitely a strategic skill set to be able to challenge other business leaders in the way that they think and act. Like, this is a cultural movement. We have to, like, the United States has always been known as like the country where like you have to break your back to make it. But like, do you? Like,
No.
do you really? No, like
No,
you don't
you
have to
don't.
do that.
Imposter syndrome exists at every level of a company. No one within the human population is immune to imposter syndrome, except for maybe actually diagnosed sociopaths. But I digress. Not that
Yeah,
I
like
have any of
narcissists,
those
right?
in my employee population. But
Counting the narcissists on my.
That's right. Imposter syndrome exists at every level. So call their bluff.
Yeah.
Call their bluff.
Mhm.
And if you don't, this is the market to call the bluff. This is the market to empower yourself, because there is somebody else who's out there literally with binoculars going, oh my God, where is this person? I need this person. Where is this person?
Exactly.
So
Yes.
that's it. Imposter syndrome exists everywhere, in every level. So call their bluff.
I love
Yeah.
it. And to that point, like, I think, and I'm going to say this even for myself, I used to wear busy as a badge of honor. I truly did.
I still wear it.
I had to let it go, Trace, because I'm going to tell you, you know what developed from that badge? Anxiety. Then CBD gummies. Then shoulder pain. Okay. Then chronic back pain. So then I'm like, I asked myself when I look back, and I actually had a girl on my team say this to me back in the very beginning of starting Improve It. She said, I'm not sure if you feel like you need to be busy to like show that, make you feel like you're busy, and that's, or if you just are stressed because you're putting too much on your plate. Which is it? And I said, wow. And then I thought about it, and the reality is that I was constantly feeling like, oh my God, because I felt like that's what made me feel lifted. I felt that's what I was supposed to do while building a business. This entrepreneurial culture is also kind of the same thing. It's like busy, 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 hustle, hustle. And that was like
capitalism. Capitalism.
Achoo.
I was like, Jan, are you okay? I didn't realize that was.
But it's so true. It's so true. And this was like this was 2014. So this was like the boss babe movement.
Oh,
like
please don't.
Stuff. Girl boss. I know.
Like, so why can't we just be boss?
Yes. Or why can't we like
what makes nothing. Boss inherently masculine and male?
Exactly.
I'm just a boss. Don't give me babe or girl.
Exactly. So I was
Please don't call me babe.
Go ahead, Jan. Go, Jan.
You're not an HR diva?
I'm not an HR diva.
Like, I can't. I feel physically ill.
They're just. I'm not going to derail this, but my God, yeah, that whole concept of attaching like femininity in order to make it a different, like it just upholds binary constructs. And okay,
I just can't. Like, can I just be a diva and also work in HR? Do I have to be an HR diva?
Thank you. As Beyonce said, a diva is
a female version of a hustler.
Right.
But she's not saying that you can't be a hustler. She's just saying that there's a term for it, and it's diva.
And it's diva. That's right. Okay. That's right, B or Bay.
I've had many years to analyze every lyric she's ever sung.
Oh my God, I love it. But no, I mean, truly, I think that's the busyness, that whole mentality, that whole cultural phenomenon. It's now. If anything that these past 3 years taught us is life is short. You only get one shot. Why not work for someone and work somewhere that brings you joy? And don't put up with the bullshit.
Marie Kondo your life.
Marie Kondo your life. Say thank you for the things that did not serve you, and then move the hell on. Because
I like that.
It's too it really does, like, it makes me just reflect on a lot of the ways that I used to show up, and I discuss myself through it all. Like, I definitely didn't call myself a boss babe, but I'm like, wow.
Thank God.
Yeah. Why did you run yourself in the ground that way? Why did you think that was good? And
surprise, this 100th episode is like a full therapy session.
It really is.
This is good. I'm like thinking about this, like, I'm internalizing all of this, like, because I'm the busy person. I'm the one with a million things going on. My sister even said before I started this podcast, because I just finished I just graduated from my master's program. She was like, please don't use this time and fill it up with something else. Like, and because that was like, this is my, who I am. And what did I do? I started a podcast, which I'm so glad that I did. Like I'm so grateful. I wouldn't have met the both of you if it weren't for this podcast. But this leads me to a question, which is like, how do you set boundaries for yourself when you run a business? Like, this podcast is a business. Erin, you have a business. Jan, not sure I'm approved is all of these things that take time. Like, we are contributing time outside of our personal lives, our family, whatever. How do you create boundaries so that you are still super successful without sacrificing the things in life that you never get back, like time and growth with your family and things like that? How do you do it?
You have to start by defining success in a way that doesn't align with capitalism and hustle culture. You have to define success for yourself. And then once you get to that point, not what other people are going to see as success, but what you see as success. For example, I never look at my follower count on Not Sure I'm Approved as success. What I look at as success is when someone comes to me and tells me a story about how they took something that was either shared by another community member or shared by me and went, I took this away, I applied it to what I was doing, and now I'm much happier. Or your content just gives me that little breath of fresh air that I need in my day to reset. To me, that's success. I could have 20,000 people drop off tomorrow, and as long as the people that are staying are getting value out of the content, that's success to me. Do I get to spend time meeting incredible women like you? That's success to me. I have not monetized that community, and I probably never will. A, I'm really fucking bad at it, but B,
Yeah, you really could.
You really
I don't,
could.
but,
So much
but
merch.
I don't want it. But I don't want it. I don't want to ever lose sight of the idea that the community is based on community itself, not on what I can gain from the community, but what the community can gain from each other.
Wow, I love that.
Me too.
I love that.
Me too. Oh my God. I know that. So I always say too, it's like you said, Jan, what is success? And I have adopted this mantra. I did not make it up, but I have definitely tried to adopt it. And it's measure the amount of success by the amount of fun you have each day.
There you go. That's a
man.
good litmus.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I am taking I have a 3-year-old. It's like, I'm taking 8-9 hours out of my day to run this business. If it's not fun, why the hell am I doing it?
Yeah.
And I really think a lot of it, and this has become more of a just sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not mindful, intentional. An intentional shift after having Jackson was I have to compartmentalize my day. And now, because I work from home, there is no like downtime from being Erin, improve it, Erin, to mom. It's literally a 1-minute commute and just down the hall, pick him up. And so it's like, I really have to set compartmentalized time. And that's how I do boundaries. It's like my mornings are for me. I get up before him, I work, and that is my time to focus on giving my craft to the world, and I want to make sure that I'm enjoying it along the way, and I work with people that I enjoy, and I get to do things like this that I enjoy, and then I have compartmentalized family time, and I don't pick up my phone from 5:30 till like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night until he's in bed, and then it's like I can do whatever I want until I go to sleep, which is usually doom scrolling and being, that needs to change. That needs to change.
I deleted TikTok completely. Deleted it. It wasn't a show of strength. It was because I didn't want them tracking my keystrokes, so I just deleted it.
I know,
but I have to say it. Even though it wasn't me saying I'm not going to scroll all the time, and I kind of still scroll a lot on Instagram, it has changed my mentality. Like because you can just keep going, and I hated the feeling that I had when I was just scrolling endlessly, and you just don't do it as much on Instagram. It's just like not the vibe, and I have to say it's the doom scrolling has ended for me. It's much better.
Okay. Give me that.
Highly recommend.
I'm gonna follow in your footsteps. That's my new mantra.
It does take strength to keep it off of your phone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I actually TikTok is not my weakness. It's actually Instagram.
Oh,
if I'm being honest. And so I've had to really try to, and you're right. I'm actually going to do a show about it because I went on a trip recently and I didn't look at my phone for 3 days except just family text.
So nice.
And it was like and that's how we used to live.
I miss those days. I really do.
And I was like, why
taking her back.
Do I not need this in my life? I don't. So anyway, that's a whole other topic.
I know. It's like, can we do our jobs without Instagram? Like if Instagram didn't exist, Jan Janerson, like where would she live? Would it be Tumblr? Would it? Do you remember the Tumblr days? Like would it be a blog?
MySpace?
I don't know. Oh, MySpace.
Oh yeah. Lord. I'd add you guys to my top 4.
That's what I was just gonna say. Would we be was it top? What was it? Top?
It was
so
top 8.
Top 8, but you could have made it top 4. There was one point in my life where I had people who were not so nice as friends, and then they like ousted me, and I was like, whatever, like I'm better off. And I like removed them, and I had a top 4 instead of a top 8.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I know. It's sarcasm and trauma, as Jen said. There's always a beautiful blend.
It's a potent mix. It's like an essential oil blend. You just dump it right in.
Yes.
3 drops of sarcasm, 2 of trauma. Stir it around.
Put it on your wrist right
That's
before
right.
you
No
go to bed.
roller ball.
No roller ball. There.
Right. I mean, literally, what is human nature and what is the human existence if it's not like a little mix of trauma, the good times, and some sarcasm? That's why, like, you can't compare your bruises, everyone's got bruises, different, hopefully not physical bruises, but, we all have our marks, and we've got to find ways to let them build us up, you know, and make Not SHRM Approved, improve it, and bringing the human back to human resources.
Yeah.
Kind of just, yeah.
Well
And
said.
actually, thank you. On that note, for all the Bobs out there, you know, we are coming to a close on our time together. And I have to just quickly say a huge thank you to Jan and Erin for being my 100th episode squad, because I literally haven't, like, I was like, oh my God, I have 100 episodes. Like, what am I going to do for that episode? And I'm just so glad that we did nothing and everything at the same time. Thank you.
It was a beautiful blend. And happy 100,
Happy
Tracy.
100.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you. Well, I have to say, I'm going to give you guys the mics, and like, if you have any closing thoughts, or like even where people can find you, that's obviously, you know, Erin, you've been on the podcast before. Jan, I did introduce your Instagram, but I want you to, these listeners to be able to connect with you outside of this episode.
So the primary place for our community, Not SHRM Approved, is on Instagram, but we are also on Twitter. And I've started to dabble into TikTok, but as it turns out, being anonymous on TikTok doesn't quite work the same way.
That's hard.
Yeah, I can't do all these fun little trendy dances, and you know, you should. When I try to do that stuff, my poor 15-year-old just wants to melt into the floor, like, oh my God, Mom, stop. I'm like, what's the matter? You don't like this? And I get like more. Oh yeah, I keep telling her all the time. I'm like, when you get married, or whatever ceremony you decide to have, or if you just decide to marry yourself, I don't really care. But there's going to be music, and I am going to get horribly drunk, and I am going to dance in the most
Erin and I are going to crash that wedding.
old person way I possibly can.
Please invite us. Please invite us.
For sure.
I love it.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh, love. Okay. And also, Jan, we love your content, so please follow Jan, because it will make your day. I am Erin Diehl on LinkedIn, the only one at Improve It, and then at Keeping It Real Deal on Instagram if you want to connect. And I'm just so thrilled to always have this opportunity to chat with both of you. You're both amazing women. And I love our little community. We created a community. I know.
Like a brunch group.
It really is. Ladies who brunch.
We need mimosas next time.
I know.
Next show,
Actually, we should have done that. That would have been good. Maybe I'll take a picture for Instagram for the 100th episode, and like a little, you know, a little mimosa in hand.
That's a great idea.
We could do a little coffee. Cheers
to 100.
A little Baileys. And
actually, I haven't had coffee yet. I should probably do that. Well, listen, thank you so much for helping me and like bring this 100th episode to life, and thank you to all the listeners for sticking it out for 2 years. I know 104 is technically the 2-year mark, but we're gonna call it 100, and because that is a milestone. So thank you all so much, and I'm just so grateful to know the both of you, because it's just like my life is made every time I get to speak with you both.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Hugs.
Hugs. So many hugs around.